Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wow Wednesday. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. I invite you to consider that this day is a wow day. Now, don't just consider, I changed my mind. Declare it. We get to choose, we get to create. And I am so delighted to be here with you today and introduce you to my great friend and colleague, Claudia Rocafort, as she shares some highly valuable tips on how we can regain control of our time and our lives. And I must say, if there is one persistent complaint, irritation, and frustration that I hear from people, it's around, oh my God, I don't have enough time. I'm so busy. I can't, how am I going to get it all done? Well, if that's you, you're in the right place because Claudia is going to share some amazing strategies with you today. And I'll bring her on in a moment. Want to let you know about some great WPN, Women's Prosperity Network events coming up. So first of all, it's this afternoon at 4 p.m. I'm interviewing and doing a masterclass with Susie Pruden, and we're going to be talking about how you can stand out and position yourself as an expert so that you're attracting quality leads instead of chasing them. So if that's for you, be sure to go to our website and get the information on the masterclass today. And then this Saturday, May 28th, we are hosting our legendary signature formula mastermind that is set at Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be taking a pause and looking at, okay, you know what? It's halfway through the year, just about. Let's just revisit those goals, do a check-in and see what we want, what else we want to do to celebrate our accomplishments. So join us for that mastermind this Saturday. And once again, you can get all the information on that from our website, womensprosperityNetwork.com. So without taking up any more of your time listening to me, we want to hear from Claudia today. So let me share a little bit about her. So Claudia Rocafort is known as the conscious communicator, and she shows executives, entrepreneurs, and individuals how to up-level their leadership and achieve extraordinary results. For more than 15 years, she has been a communications consultant, executive coach, and entrepreneurial coach. She's worked with C-suite executive, department heads, and large companies, teaching them how to really maximize their lives. Also, she is an actress on TV, off Broadway, and in film for over 3 decades. And with that, she brings a unique set of powerful, proven communication techniques that translate to any walk of life and that enable you to deliver impactful communication that gets the results that you want. She is here with us today. I am so grateful for having met her many, many years ago. We actually attended a workshop together, and that's where we really got to know each other through our great friend, Burge Smith Lyons. I know we kind of knew each other before, but at that event, we really got to know each other. I'm so grateful for you, our friendship, and you being here today. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's always so spectacular to be here with you and to share the space with you. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too. So I'm going to say, let's dive right in. And I suspect some of these strategies that you've developed, I know you've done extensive research and you've trained with some of the masters of leadership and executive career coaching. And actress, entrepreneur, yes, executive, single mom, like you needed all this stuff, didn't you?
I desperately needed all of this, Nancy. Precisely. There's a wonderful quote that says, if you want to learn something, read about it. If you want to understand something, write about it. But if you want to master something, teach it. And this became this path for me, this passion for me, precisely because I was a single mom with 3 careers and trying to figure out how to do it all, how to be able to make the time to do the real estate and do the acting and do the auditions and continue my coaching and raise a son who was a little kid, who was not, it's not a teenager who can kind of self-serve, but really all along a little one. So now he's 14 And now I have a little more time to myself because of that. But it was a passion for me to kind of begin to understand all of the main time management methods. And one of the things that came across really poignantly, poignantly,
We gotcha.
right? You know what I mean. So was something that John DeMartini said in his breakthrough experience. And he said, you know, if you do not fill your day with high priority tasks, the day will be filled for you with low priority tasks. And that was an aha moment for me, because I found myself busy all the time, but I wasn't productive busy. It was just busy. And I found myself doing the errands and getting the things done and the cooking and making sure my son was taken care of. And I'd sit down and I'd try to go through some emails, and I'd find myself super stressed. The list of my emails kept growing, and the list of things to do kept growing. And it wasn't things to do for one thing. It was a list of things to do for the acting and for the coaching and for the real estate and for my son and for the health and for my social life and for, well, that was kind of non-existent. And so I realized, okay, how do I shift this? How can I begin to take responsibility from a different place where I'm not going crazy and I'm not working harder, but I'm working smarter?
Well, I think we all want that.
Yes.
How do we do that? Like, it sounds really good in theory. How do we put it into practice?
Absolutely. So let's start with some tips.
Okay.
One of the first things that I think really makes a world of difference is to understand the difference between what is urgent and what is important. And I don't know about you ladies, but I used to run around kind of like a firefighter. My coach called me the other day. She's like, do you find yourself to be a firefighter? I kept running around putting out fires rather than directing, consciously choosing my day. And so one of the first things is that let's do some clarity work. And there's something called the Eisenhower matrix. And I found this to be incredibly helpful. Imagine that you grab a piece of paper and you separate it into 4 sections.
Okay.
You have a section that is important and urgent, important but not urgent, right? Then urgent but not important, and not important and not urgent. Now, if you go through the exercise of imagining this, or actually doing it on paper, because one of the other things that's really helpful is that you are 42% more likely to get something accomplished if you write it down. So I'm a huge fan of lists and I'm a huge fan of writing everything down. I like it on paper. I like to be able to see it. I love my online calendar. I love my technological tools, but I like to print them out and have them where I can scribble and color correct and color code and all those things.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the distinction between important and urgent?
Beautiful. So that is a choice, and it's a self-determination. It's not a rule that will fit all, but think of it this way. There are things that are urgent because they're time sensitive, right?
Right,
But
like I needed to get the marketing piece done for this by a certain date.
Exactly. Okay. So that would be urgent and important. Why important? Because this is part of your livelihood. This is part of what you do, what you love to do, and the way that you bring value to the community. And it was time sensitive. So that would have gone in the upper left quadrant of important and urgent.
Okay.
There's a time frame. But let's say something is important, but not necessarily urgent. For example, my passport's going to expire in 3 or 4 months. And that process takes a while. So I need to start that process soon, but it doesn't have to happen this week.
Okay.
Right? That's really important, but it's not urgent.
And the key is to get it done before it becomes
urgent. Exactly. So there's the back burner section, which we're going to talk about afterwards in a few minutes, because that is a good place. That, you know, it's kind of like keeping the pot nice and warm, but it doesn't have to be urgent yet. And you have a certain amount of time to get those into what needs to happen this week. So then we have, for example, the not important, but urgent. Oh my gosh, I got to pay the ticket, the car. You know, I parked and the parking went over the meter and I don't want that to increase. Okay, can I determine, can that be delegated? Can somebody do that for me? Or can I focus my time on what's important and urgent and what I'm best at? If you don't have a delegation system at all, you don't have an assistant or somebody in the family that supports some of these things, then you need to create what I call that buffer times in your day for those things that are important, but not necessarily urgent, or that are urgent, but not as important, but you need to get those done because they're urgent.
Yeah, good.
Right? So it begins to kind of clarify mentally, okay, my important and urgent, that's what needs to happen first. And so I talk about something called the golden hours, right? We all have a biorhythm. Some people are really, really good morning people. Some people are really good night owls. I was a complete night owl. I couldn't really focus until it was 11 o'clock at night and the household was completely silent and there wasn't one distraction. And all of a sudden I would laser in and be so much more productive for some reason. I think I got used to it from high school when the dorm got quiet and that was the time that I could just focus for myself. There was no, you know, socializing or no distractions. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. So that became my time. For some people, it's first thing in the morning with that cup of coffee.
That would be me.
Yeah. I figured you were a morning person, Nancy.
I'm a morning person.
I love it. I personally don't love being made up at this hour. If I can avoid it.
Thank you for doing it for us. Okay, so the 4 quadrants. So we would take our, like I do a brain dump every time. I was like, oh, I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do that. And I just dump it on a sheet of paper.
Yes.
Is it beneficial to put it directly in one of those quadrants, or is that dump and then sort? Like, what do you recommend for that?
I recommend dump and sort. And let me explain why. The brain dump is essential. It is one of those things that will allow you to, one, immediately release dopamine because you're getting something completed somehow, and allows that space for, did I forget anything? You get to just kind of get rid of all of that stuff that might be stressing you out, right? So you put it all out, you lay it all out. Now, I've developed this Eisenhower method, but there's something else that I wanted to tell you about, which is my other favorite method, which is called the pickle jar theory. Now, if you imagine, yeah, pickle jar, right? So imagine a big jar of pickles empty, and imagine that you have some big rocks, some medium rocks, and some sand. Well, if I put the sand in first, right, then it's going to be really hard for me to get those middle rocks and especially those big rocks in. But if I put the big rocks first, then the middle rocks, the medium ones, and then fill the rest with sand, I'm going to be able to maximize that container.
Yeah.
Right? So this is where the methods start to combine. And this is what I call my time mastery solution. We start looking at which of these things apply best when. So for example, when you do that brain dump, right? I like to do my brain dump on a worksheet that I've created for myself that has 7 columns, kind of like a calendar, but I have a column for the most important things: my coaching, my acting, my business development, my logistics, which are errands or home, my son, and myself, my personal self-care, let's say. And I have a little column that I love to call the universe, the things that you want to put to the universe and ask for support. and
Love
put
it.
your intention.
I love it.
And, and it's a beautiful thing because it's really interesting, as you well know, how things will begin to kind of align for those things to happen and to manifest.
You go,
Like,
oh, look at how that worked out, right?
yes, and that's beautiful. So I love to have that column for the universe. Now I have these columns and I do my brain dump there because it's already then kind of already arranged for me somehow,
Yeah.
right? It goes by home, errands, logistics, my business, my work. Then, because I have it all lined, I'll start to put those big rocks, those that are important and urgent, at the top of the list. I'll leave little gaps, things that maybe are not as important at the bottom, but I want to make sure that I remember that they're there, that they need to happen, right? And then the sort of middle stuff in the middle. Then what ends up happening is I have a highlighter. I'll grab of all that list, the things that are super key that I've decided, and then I'll plug those into my calendar online. And those become my skeleton, my framework around which I work. Then I create that buffer time for the sand, the things that might be urgent but not so important, the emails, the social media, the slight distraction. But I want to make sure that also self-care goes into that category of not sand, but of important things that you're going to work around. And that's how we start to create a more stressless, a more maximized time frame for ourselves, where we are equating self-care with that urgent and important.
That's a key one. I've been myself had a lot happening over these last couple of weeks, and I noticed I wasn't making time for my yoga. And so I was like, this morning I woke up, I'm doing yoga. So I'm making sure that I get it done. And I did it the other day. And I was like, we've got to prioritize that. And I know for me, unfortunately, that's an area that I tend to put myself at the bottom of that long to-do list.
Ditto. Precisely, unfortunately. And mea culpa, I have not done my yoga in a couple of weeks because there's been a lot that was important and that was timely as well. So now I got a fantastic reminder from a coach who reminded me that we receive in the measure in which we love ourselves.
That was good. That was good. And taking the time to implement what Claudia is sharing with you today is part of that process of loving yourself. Because just imagine if you did this, took a half hour, implement the strategies that she's sharing today. And I know you have a gift for us with some additional trainings to do.
Yes, yes.
How will that change your life? Right? How will that change your life?
Completely.
Yeah, so good. So how do we, since we're talking about, where we might put ourselves at the back of the list or the bottom of the list or not even on the list.
Yeah.
What tips do you have to help us mentally, work through that, around that, so we can get ourselves back to the top?
Exactly. So I want everybody to think about all the three things we've talked about so far. They're key, right? Important and urgent. Sure, those are relevant, but we will be at peace and stress-free and seamless in the measure in which we take care of ourselves. So that is important. It might not be urgent, but you need to consider that that needs to be blocked into at the beginning of your timekeeping process. So I like to look at my week ahead, and I like to plan my week every week. And I will schedule those things that are non-negotiable, the events that I want to attend or that are pro my business. Those will automatically go into my week. Then I will create those golden hours, and I will set 3 priorities for those golden hours.
That's another great tip.
Right?
Find your golden hours when you're most creative, productive, and focused, and set just 3. Don't think you're going to get everything done.
Those moments are when you're going to basically use that time for your most money-making, money-attracting endeavors. So that's when you want to, if the sales call is hard for you, that's when you want to make the sales calls. If the one-on-one delivery is hard for you, then that's when you want to create those client meetings. So you know, if the creation of content is what's hard for you, then that's what you want to create. You want to create the content during those golden hours for yourself. So then it starts to kind of align with your own biorhythm. And in that process, you're honoring your innate abilities. You're honoring your automatic biorhythm when things become comfortable and easier for you.
Well, it's like going with the flow instead of fighting against it.
I was about to say that. Precisely.
We're aligned.
I love it. So it is precisely that. You don't want to, you know, keep swimming upstream if you can just go with the flow. So make it easier for yourselves. That's the idea. So those golden hours, pick those 3 top things that are important and urgent, that are the toughest ones for you to do.
Love it.
So, and then look at the rest of your day and make sure that you have created some time for relaxation, restoration, or recreation. So whatever that form takes, for me, it tends to be, I kind of combine that time to make sure that it is the time with my son and that we get to watch a movie, or that we get to watch a show that then we can talk about, or that we get to play a board game. And that becomes kind of my relaxation, restoration, recreation. I try to combine that with maybe a dinner out, or with maybe let's grab a pizza and go to the beach and just do something different. A change of scenery, a little time outdoors. That will make a world of difference in your day when you can create that space for yourself. And it doesn't always have to be the exercise. That's super helpful because that brings, of course, the endorphins.
Yeah.
Meditation, a little journaling.
I love
Something for you.
I love it. So how do we, you know, once we've taken this time, and I'm going to throw you a curveball here because
Go ahead.
out curveballs, because I make plans and then your kid's called sick from school, or the car breaks down, or this happens. Like, do you have any tips for how to deal with those when your schedule that you made so beautifully seems to get shot to the wind? We'll say to the wind.
Of course. To the fan.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Yes, absolutely. So buffer time, right? This time that you would normally leave for the sand, that you want to make sure that you have a certain amount of, or in between meetings, for example. So I schedule connecting calls that are usually 30 minutes, but I find that more often than not, I need 45. So I'll say 30 minutes, but I'll give myself 45 before I schedule anything else. So that if I want to continue that conversation, if there's more that I need to do, I have that extra time. And if not, then I have that time to return a phone call, to check that email that just popped in that I was expecting, or to check that appointment, whatever that may be, that gives you that little buffer time of those things that do come up. Yeah. When something big comes up, like you got to go get your kid from school and you need to rearrange your entire day, then that's something else. Then, of course, you want to make sure that you start calling everybody and let them know as soon as possible that you need to reschedule.
And I would think also revisiting the important urgent boxes as you're moving things around, because all of things have shifted now, right?
It becomes a little Tetris. Yes.
A little Tetris.
It becomes a little Tetris. Oh, now this fits here and this fits here. Oh, and then I have this tiny little amount of time here because while I'm going to pick up my son in the car, I can make that phone call.
Yeah. My question now is, and we'll get to whatever other tips you wanted to share today. My other question goes to, creating these online systems. We live in such a virtual world, and I find that there are great tools to help us, but they could also, we could spend so much time trying to figure out the tools that we lost the time, and now we're not getting any suggestions around that.
I know that feeling. And yes, there's a couple of different things. And this is another one of those time management things that comes up that's really, really interesting. And it's called Parkinson's Law. And it says basically that things will take up the amount of time that you've allotted for them, and occasionally more. And so, for example, there's the realistic, I can do this in an hour and a half, but let me give myself 2 just in case. You will use up the 2. Okay. It does. So think about it and say, okay, can I get it done in 1.5? And give myself this extra time for something else, or for that transition, for something that's going to support me. Right. And so we want to find and create, because it's kind of, this is the beauty. We start creating what our days look like, and we start feeling much more empowered by it. And there's something to be said about do not disturb. My golden hours, that phone is off. The only way that somebody's going to get to me, and my family knows, call me twice if it's an emergency, because my phone will go into ring mode. But otherwise,
right,
that's my time.
Guard yourself.
Guard yourself.
Yeah, awesome. We're going to go into question and answer mode in just a moment. And while I set all of those pieces up, please let everybody know they're going to want more from you. So what have you got for them to really, equip themselves to become the master of their time?
Oh, wonderful. Well, today everybody's going to be getting 5 top tips for productivity. It's precisely a little method, partly what we talked about, to help you prioritize what should go first and how to kind of go about this exercise of clarifying what are your priorities, how to define them, what is important and urgent versus important but not urgent, and versus urgent but not important. So everybody's going to be getting that freebie.
And to get it, let me tell them how to get it.
Yes, please.
You want to go to Claudia Rocafort coaching.com/time tips, all one word, time tips. So Claudia, CLAUDIA, Rocafort, ROCAFORT, coaching.com, Claudia Rocafort coaching.com/time tips, all together as one word. And you'll be able to get, hands-on, because I like touching things too, right? Hands-on, these 5 tips to go deeper into all of these things. And is there something else included there? I think you did.
There is. I'm doing a bonus for the WPN community and the sisterhood I love. And I wanted to give everybody a free access to my masterclass, which is a 1-hour class called Intro to Time Mastery. And it gives you all of these, the top 8, basically, the top 8 time management principles, skills, and techniques that we can use. And it'll give you some ideas. It'll reinforce some of the things that we've spoken about today, some of the tips that we've talked about today. It's a lot of material. I mean, I love to kind of give it all when I can. So it's jam-packed with ideas. And I'm also offering a special. I'm going to be doing a time management mastery workshop, June 18th. And for anybody who joins at this point, it's going to be half off, 50%, launch, early price, $99, where we're going to have 4 hours to implement all the techniques and all the tools. And Nancy, you asked me about those tools, some of the technology. Well, we're going to go through the top calendars so that everybody can walk out of that workshop with their calendar set up, with the tools that will support you to make sure that you can implement these things.
Yeah. So imagine, doing that workshop and walking away in control. Like, I love to be in control. Probably nobody noticed that about me before, which is why I love scheduling and time management and all of those things. So be sure to go to Claudia Rocafort coaching.com/time tips, and you'll begin with getting her 5 tips on productivity. Then you'll watch the bonus training that she's given you, and then you'll be invited to take part in the workshop on June the 18th at this very special price. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am about ready to open up for questions. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we do so?
I'm full of tips and ideas. So I think why don't we let everybody ask and see how we can serve them.
Beautiful, beautiful. So your lines are available for questions. Please raise your hand if you're with us on the computer. And if you are on the phone, simply hit *6. Claudia, your video left.
Oh, so sorry. Let's see. There we go.
Let's bring
okay.
So questions, like you've got the expert in the house, go ahead, raise your hand or hit *6 on your phone to be unmuted. And I see Laura Barker might be unmuted with a question. Hello, Laura.
Good morning. Oh, Claudia, it's always so good to see you.
Oh, thank you,
Laura. I just want to say thank you so much for your generosity. I mean, the tips, the masterclass, the 50% off, folks. I have not taken your workshop yet, of course, but it is I know it's going to be amazing. And what I would guess, and maybe you can address this, is that, first of all, we all know implementation is everything, right?
Exactly.
We can look at these tips. We can even go to the masterclass, but if we don't have a plan to put those things into action, what was the point, right?
Yes.
So the fact that you're giving us 50% off on a 4-hour workshop, oh my gosh. What I want to hear from you, though, is your take on how much time we will save and add back into our lives once we invest our own 4 hours to buy back our time, because I know it's going to be huge. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Laura, so much for all that warmth, and thank you. That is a phenomenal question, frankly, because if you think about the amount of time that we lose to some degree trying to get organized or with organizational tools that aren't necessarily supporting us at the most effective rate. And I love this. There's a slight difference between efficient and effective that I'd love to share with you, because this was a tip that was super helpful for me. Efficiency is that ability to accomplish something in the least amount of time, right? Effective is the ability that we have to make something successful, to achieve what we wanted to achieve. So if we can maximize our time by being effective and efficient, you can imagine that
that's the secret
sauce. That's the secret sauce. Right? So how much time will it save for each and every one of you by walking away with all of these tools implemented in your calendars, in your organizational skills, and in your ability to say, oh, I've got my workbook. Let me try this method today because this is what I need to get the clarity to control this week or this month. And it's a kind of rinse and repeat. We do this every week, every month, or every year. And we can create an action plan that far ahead that will support exactly what we want to accomplish. Yeah. Those dreams, those SMART goals, those things that are Mount Everests.
Yes, great question. Thank you, Laura. And you know what came to mind as you're sharing this? Every one of you listening in, has a desire to grow your business, grow yourself, serve more people, have a greater impact. And what Claudia is teaching and sharing are the same strategies that she teaches to Fortune 500 executives. So talk about people who are getting big stuff done. That's them. And it's us too, right? So let's put into practice all the pieces that we need to be our best and have our best, right? That's the key. Let's go ahead and Let's go ahead and get our next caller, Dr. Roz. I see you've got your hand up, and hit star six on your phone, or raise your hand if you're on the computer. Claudia is here to serve.
Claudia.
Hi, Dr. Roz.
I feel like a ballerina, but getting ready to go do 2-a-days as a football player.
All right. Tell me about that.
I already made an appointment with you tomorrow, which is my birthday. So I made an appointment with you tomorrow. And looking over, and I had such a great time with Nancy. Nancy, I feel like this is the law of attraction. With hearing Claudia today for some of the concerns that I have for myself, but I know that with the WPN sisterhood, that I now will be able to affirm, decree, and declare organization through what you're teaching. And looking at the documentation, this is good. So I think I'm gonna have to get both of these pages framed and look at that. But I have set my appointment with you tomorrow, sister. So know that you are loved, appreciated, celebrated, valued, and most cherished. I'm gonna look over that and go sit in some time with the Creator so I can be pinpoint accurate with the questions to ask and ready to be open to receive. So thank you so much, because this will be a mighty blessing of my next 365 days of being a new creature. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. That was beautiful. Thank you.
So beautiful. What a great, thank you, Dr. Oz. And I want to answer a question in the chat. Laura asked, what's the link to the workshop? And as soon as you go to Claudia Rocafort coaching.com/time tips, once you get the 5 tips that she's sharing there, you'll instantly be delivered to the information on the workshop. So everything begins. So sometimes we want to eat the whole thing all at once, but Claudia is guiding you step by step through the process. So start by going to Claudia Rocafort coaching.com/time tips. And then you will be taken to the tips, the video training, as well as the invitation to the workshop for the super duper half price offer that she's bringing us.
Wonderful.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's check in. Any other questions, insights, or comments for Claudia as we're here today? We've got a few more minutes together. So if you're on your phone, hit *6. If you are on your computer, just go ahead and raise your hand. But while we wait for someone to come into the queue, I've got a couple more questions of my own.
Bring them on, Nancy.
Yeah. So when it comes to running your business, do you have some tips on, there's so many hours in the day, and you've got your family, your future goals, your current goals. How do we determine how much time we should spend on certain things and be able to have a successful, profitable business?
Exactly. That's a wonderful, wonderful question, Nancy. There's one of these time methods that I love to talk about, is the Pareto principle. And it talks about the fact that 20% of our day, 20% of our time is responsible for 80% of our results. Mm-hmm. And it's a very powerful thing when you stop and think about that, because that's how I like to combine all of the methods. Those golden hours, if you can, imagine those golden hours being those high priority, highly profitable tasks. If you create those 3 hours then everything else, or 4 hours a day, everything else becomes gravy. So if you tackle those first, ideally,
Good.
first thing in the morning, then, or for my night owl people, right? You want to have those sales conversations in the morning or those content creation hours in the morning, and then save your night for that focus you time where you're working on your business and you're doing the things that nobody else can support you with.
Really good. Great distinctions. Thank you for that. And I love what Laurel said. She says, sorry, I must jump to an important and urgent other meeting.
Oh, I love it. Yay.
Already being used. All right, let's go to Peg Duchesne.
Hey, Claudia, thanks for
Peg.
the great gift of 50% off and all those things. I'm glad you just mentioned the Pareto principle. I live by that, but my favorite takeaway from today, I just love the analogy of the pickle jar. And, you know, you start with the big rocks that are the most important, not necessarily urgent, but being sure you're making time for all the things that are important, like family and health and all that. And then you do the smaller rocks and pebbles, and then you do the sand, but then there's still room to fill the jar with water, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, if you start with the sand and the water, there's no room for anything else. So I just love that analogy. Thank you for sharing that and reminding of it, that today. And the other big takeaway I have is the dump and sort. Just dump it all out and sort it. And as you know, I moved not too long ago and still am surrounded by boxes. And at the end of a long day, the last thing I want to do is take that lid off and open another chapter of my life. It's like an archaeological dig project. Right? But this weekend, I'm very much looking forward to taking time to do some of that. And the dump and sort is inspiring me. So very timely in these time tips. So thank you so much, my friend.
Yes, 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 yes. And I love that, Peg. Thank you so much for sharing what you have. One of the things that I love to do is I was also a professional organizer, precisely because, like Nancy, I like to, you know, sort of control certain things and make sure that it's all in order. Grab that, precisely the same kind of principle. What is to donate? What is to throw out? What is to keep? Or what is to repair?
Love it.
Exactly. I'm going to have you in my head as I sort the boxes and do my archaeological dig this weekend. So
That is so cool.
Love it.
thank you, my friend.
Awesome.
Peg, my pleasure.
Yes. And we're going to go to, we've got a couple more people in queue, and I'm going to anchor back for a moment. Laura asked, she loves the spreadsheet you mentioned earlier with the quadrants. Do you recommend any project management tools such as Trello, or for those of us who might be Excel challenged? That's not my area of expertise either.
Okay. Yes, definitely. Trello is one of those programs that's very helpful for people. I personally like to keep it as simple as possible for me, meaning I love technology, but I'm not as savvy as I wish I were. That's in the works, but savvy enough to make sure that all the things support me, that function for me. So saying that, a calendar is your key. And that if you need to see it visually, Trello would be a wonderful place. I think it's called Slack.
Yeah.
That's the other one that I found to be very helpful as well, in ways of organizing yourself and other team members and other people in your entourage, group, friends, you know, coworkers, depending on who you're working with on what kind of things. I personally love the paper method. And then I put that into my calendar. So my calendar looks like, you know, from all 24 hours are taken in a cup.
Yeah.
Completely filled up with a color, whether it's downtime, sleep time, food time, playtime,
Time. Right. My sister Susan loves to joke. You're like, I'll call her and she's like, your calendar said you were taking a shower now.
I love that. Yes.
And doing this scheduling, it can feel, you know, opposite of freedom. if you think of it like I'm boxed in because I have all these things on my schedule, but you put them there. And when you do it in the prioritization that Claudia is talking about, it's actually about making sure you're taken care of, right? Like when we make a grocery list to go to the supermarket so we have food for the week, you're just doing the same kind of thing for your life. So you're taking care of all of it. Yeah, that's how I think about it.
And to piggyback on that, Nancy, which I love, is precisely that. When you put it in the calendar, you've made the time for it to happen. So you're setting your intention and you're actually going the next step, which is saying, I'm creating the time for this. I'm making this a priority so that it does get to happen in my world and in my life. And I get to accomplish that goal, or I get to go to the cleaners and pick up the dry clean, or I get to go and do the laundry list, or I get to go take my walk in nature to make sure that for all my afternoon meetings, I am in that relaxed, centered state where I can coach somebody in the most supportive way.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff, my friends. Good stuff. Be sure, as I said, go and get her tips and the invitation to the workshop, plus her bonus training that you get for free right now when you go to claudiarocafortcoaching.com/time tips, all one word. And then I saw Mary Jane had a question, but I don't see her hand raised anymore. Area code 423. Oh, let me take this caller, Mary Jane. I'll be right back to you. 423-631. Good morning. Your line is open.
Good morning. This is Niampu.
Hello.
Oh, how wonderful to hear you.
It's so wonderful to be on. Claudia, I am at work, but I could not miss this. So through WPN, I got to know you, and your time management has really structured my life. Talk about burnout mentor as I am. My life was all over the place. So your time management has brought me through. So I just want to give that testimony right now and say I am going to definitely attend this other your master class because you can never learn enough.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And it's been such a pleasure to work with you and to support you because you have a wonderful and important message to get to the world. And I want to make sure that you have the time to do it efficiently and effectively.
Beautiful. Thank you, Niampu. Good to have you with us today. And I echo what Claudia said. Thank you for what you're bringing to help our nurses, right? That's what we need.
Yes.
So thank you for serving the way you do and expanding it even further. Sending you lots of love.
Lots.
Awesome. Let's go. Mary Jane, your line is open. Just come off mute.
Okay, there we go. I wanted to thank you. I have done the pickle jar, and then I put it on the shelf and I don't look at it again. I probably have a collection of pickle jars. So, but the fact that you now have a schematic to take the important rocks and the little rocks and the sand and Peg's contribution of the water, it's all coming to be. I do well with pictures. I do well with schematics. So I'm excited because I'll get more done in the 3 hours per day. Makes absolute sense. I do brain dumps. Again, the yellow pad sits and Mary Jane makes a left-hand turn and goes off into oblivion. So this is excellent and I appreciate it hugely. I'm signed up for everything. So thank you for that gift so early on a Wednesday. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mary Jane. I'm so excited. And like you, I'm very visual. When I understood the pickle jar method, it was so easy for me to picture it. And I was like, big aha moment for me. Like, of course, I'm never going to fit the big rocks if I don't put them in first, right? I'm never going to have the time for the important stuff if I'm turning out, fires all day or running the errands or being busy, but not focusing on what do I want to create?
Exactly.
And my business. Where am I going to make my sales? And
Yeah.
so those things need to go in the top of the list, the big rocks. With that, how do I love myself so that I'm okay to do the best that I can do to serve?
Yes.
So good. So good.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
All right, beautiful.
Love you, my friend.
Mary Jane, glad you're here. We should have time for one more question. Barbara Ellison.
Hi, Claudia. This is great. I have to admit, I have done several time management things and just fail at them all. So this is going to be,
Thank you for your
yeah.
Yeah.
One of them I'm still paying a monthly fee for, and I'm not doing it. I've got that. So that's on my list today because it's ridiculous. But anyways, my question is, I have a work schedule like outside the home that changes every day.
Yes.
Like so many of the days. How do you tips on how to handle, because sometimes I'm supposed to be scheduled from like say 9 to 1 and I'm still there at 2.
Yes.
I mean, and I can't be the only one that's in that kind of a profession.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, as an actor, I can't tell you the amount of times that my agents have called me that morning and said, Claudia, can you get to an audition this afternoon? The producers want to see you. Or that my agents called me at 8 o'clock at night and said, they want you on the plane at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And there went my day, and I have really very little time to let anybody know or find a way to switch it. So having these situations come up, for many of us, they do. And there's certain careers where they do automatically. So I try to definitely, with the people that I work with, give them that slight caveat. That is part of my world and that is part of my reality. And if I ever need to shift something, I will make it up to you. So that is one thing. The other thing is, okay, create that structure, that ideal structure for yourself. In this scenario, you want to set the intention. You want to create what your day would ideally look like. Then you want to create that buffer time for adjustments. So if you intended to be there till 1, but next thing you know, it's 2:30. And this has happened to me so many times, I can't even begin to tell you that an audition takes an hour and a half, and it was supposed to take half an hour. And next thing I know, I have to shift the rest of my appointments. So what would help there is create yourself a bigger buffer for the things that you cannot control, that are out of your control. So for example, if that appointment and you're, have a meeting and it's with a boss, for example, and you have no idea how long that's going to take, then you give yourself extra buffer time and you create the time for your priorities later. So that if it takes an extra hour or it takes 2 extra hours, you have those there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Barbara?
In other words, don't put so many things on my calendar.
That's one way to look at it. But then I like to fill my calendar with intentions. So
yes, that's a good idea.
If I don't fill that time with important things, it will be filled by menial things and I will feel I have wasted my time.
Right.
So my suggestion there would be, and it's an invitation, right? Mm-hmm. Schedule your ideal day, but make sure that that those times that may be compromised are filled by intentions of things that are effective for you, but that could also be transferred to tomorrow.
Right.
Got it.
They did not get accomplished. But those are my goal setting things. Those are my, okay, I want to update my website, or I want to create my opt-in. Okay, it's not time sensitive. I set the intention for that time that's really productive for something I want to accomplish for myself.
Right.
But I can move it to another gap or another plugin somewhere during the week if I need to.
That is totally makes sense.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Totally makes sense. Because I was filling up my day and going in right now. I'm doing interviews with people and I'm like, okay, I've got to put time in here. And so perfect timing. God is good. This is what I needed to hear of how to leave time to do the interviews.
Mhm.
And yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much. That's good. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to it again.
I see light bulbs going off.
Love it, love it when that happens. Those are
Love it.
special moments. Yes.
Good. All
It's
right.
where the magic happens, as Nancy says.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the magic right there.
Beautiful, my friends. So,
Thank you.
thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Be sure you go to ClaudiaRocafortCoaching.com/time tips. Get the time tips, the bonus masterclass, and then you can enroll in the workshop in that flow. And I do want to check in. Somebody had area code 410365. It looked like you had your hand up before. Did you have a question? If you do, you can hit *6 to unmute yourself. And if not, we will wrap it up. There we go, 410. Good morning.
This is Lois, the plant lady.
Hello.
Hey, I just wanted to thank Nancy for continuing to do this. I know that it's just like your tea and crumpets meeting, and because you have a thing. But I want you to know that even though I know these tips, I did get a nugget today, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to let me think about it. I am going to make a little more time in this priority, but I also going to do that 20%, make 80% of the time, do the 20% things, because those are the important things. That's the nugget I took.
Yep, the 80.
And I think I 80% time of the 20% stuff.
Yep, it's, you know what? It's a little bit hard to hear you this morning, Lois.
Every time it had my earphones on.
Yeah. And I just
it's 80-20.
80-20 was your nugget for today. And you know what? You showed up, and that's the key. When you show up, there's always something available to you. So kudos to you for showing up, for picking up that golden nugget. I appreciate you greatly, Lois. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. As I said, you just keep on doing what you're doing and bring your tea in a beautiful little cup.
Love it. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap up today. Claudia, thank you for joining us and being ready, showing up. To be
Thank you for the opportunity, Nancy. And this is fabulous. I had always wanted to join you on a Wow Wednesday, and this came up very suddenly yesterday and inspired me tremendously to be here today. And I'm so glad. Thank you for the opportunity and for this sisterhood that you've created, where this community is just such a phenomenal support and such a beautiful way that we can keep growing with each other and pushing and pulling each other up.
Right, that's what we do. And sometimes there's a little velvet boot behind the scenes.
Yes.
Oh, that might be. It must be trend.
I have no
No,
idea.
it's trend.
Of course.
All right, my friends, get out there, continue making this your wow day. Be sure you go to ClaudiaRocafortCoaching.com/time tips. I appreciate you. As Dr. Roz would say, you are loved, valued, cherished, appreciated, and other things, because you're amazing. And thank you, Claudia. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nancy.
My pleasure and my purpose.
I love it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.